Get that from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is my top 80s movie, for those of you that remembered.
You ever
So,
seen Pinhead?
what?
Pinhead. You know what? Coneheads? Pinheads?
Coneheads?
You ever seen that movie?
Dan Aykroyd?
I don't remember.
No, it's been a while since I've seen it.
It's a weird movie.
Yeah, it is.
It was funny
Yeah.
though. He basically thought a condom was gum. That was funny.
I forgot that part.
He was his master.
I may have to go rewatch Coneheads again then.
He tried to persuade his leader that he saved the earth and crap. He gave him the condom to chew. And he thought it was good. Oh, that was
And welcome everybody to episode 19 of Sports and Leisure with Heflings and Heisure. I am your host, Ty Hefling, and with me for the first time ever is nobody, actually. I am flying solo tonight. Greg and Steven both have their hands full, busy schedules, so I'll let them include you next week on, what happened and what led you to just have to hear me this week. So I apologize for that, but there's just too much stuff going on for us not to put something out for you guys to hopefully enjoy and listen to. So that's exactly what we're going to do this week. So I'm by myself, and hopefully it's just as good as any other episode. I feel like it will be, but that's just my opinion. Hopefully everybody else though feels the same way. So this episode we're going to do a lot of things. We're going to recap what happened in week 1, go into talk about the debacle of the Antonio Brown situations, all 5 of them. It feels like we have to talk about him every single day. And since we haven't put out an episode since last Tuesday, there's a lot to kind of go over. Also, I'm going to go through week 2, kind of give you my picks on that. So, but the first thing I kind of want to talk about, not football related at all, is actually the LeBron James situation, him trying to patent Taco Tuesday, trying to patent and copyright Taco Tuesday, which is just absurd that he thinks he can patent that and make that himself. That's been around way too long, and the copyright place or whatever you want to call it said no, because it's a common usage. I mean if you're gonna try and steal Wing Wednesday next, or buy one get one, I just don't understand why he thinks he invented this and that he can own copyright to it. It's kind of absurd in my opinion, which brings me to one point I want to talk about. LeBron is he's getting kind of senile for his age. I mean, he's getting older and he's becoming more absurd and more abrupt and just kind of doing weird things. I mean, I don't know, you kind of expected that when he was younger. He was coming in as the next Michael Jordan. You thought that would get to his head and he'd be doing all these outlandish things then. But he was kind of quiet. He was really focused on basketball in his earlier years. It wasn't until now that he's, kind of making a clown out of himself, doing all these things. And I don't know. I mean, I guess he doesn't have anything to prove anymore, so he can be more relaxed. I suppose, and just kind of live off the cuff. He doesn't have to really care what anybody thinks about him because he's already got his championships. So, I mean, and that's why you see him now going from team to team and just bringing his whole posse, whoever it is he wants to play, and just kind of causing a havoc wherever he goes. And he doesn't care because I guess he's just getting to that age. Like your grandma, especially my grandma, they get to a certain age and they don't care what people think anymore. They just say whatever comes to their head, whether that be something sweet and smart or something borderline racist or ridiculous. So I guess that's what LeBron's doing. He just going off the deep end. He's getting to old age, and he just thinks he can do or say whatever he wants and kind of get away with it. It's kind of surprising because, like I said, that's something you think or thought he would have done in his earlier years. Like you see with most professional athletes or really celebrities, any celebrity. they're at that age and they have the world by their hand and they just kind of do and say whatever they want. And it's not until they grow up and become a little more mature that they kind of calm down a little bit. Well, the opposite for LeBron. So, like I said, I think that's a little ridiculous that he thinks he invented Taco Tuesday just because he sings and has it every week, which, in my opinion, can get kind of old after a while. Taco Tuesday, not him singing, but I mean that too. I mean, I like Taco just as much as the next person, but every Tuesday, and I'm sure he's, well, I don't know. But, so yeah, that's just kind of want to bring that in with the whole LeBron situation. I just think he's a little crazy for that. But next, we'll talk about the whole Antonio Brown situations. Last time we had an episode put out was last Tuesday. He was still a member of the Raiders. He was dealing with the whole helmet situation and the fines and putting that video out on social media and stuff like that. And ooh, hold on. Sorry, I'm watching the Panthers Buccaneers game because it's Thursday and there's nothing else to watch. But just a nice long kick return there for the Panthers. So, but yes, back to the Antonio Brown situation. Since we last talked, he has been released by the Raiders and then picked up by the Patriots that same day. I put on Twitter, a poll on if you'd want your team to sign Antonio Brown, and most of what people said was no, because just the baggage that he brings, and then I also put out who's going to sign him, and I don't know who was going to sign him, and at what price and what cost they would sign him for, and the Patriots get him, I still think, for $15 million, which is three less than what he was making with the Raiders. I think $50 million is still was steep, and that was at the time. This was before all the other allegations came out, and we'll get into that, but. I mean, with all the baggage he's been bringing and all the attitude he's had, and he really hasn't played a down of football this year or in a really long time, and he was injured last year partially, and like I said, he's getting to the point to where his talents is being outweighed by the headache that he is causing. Okay, that same thing with the whole Colin Kaepernick situation. I'm gonna just talk about that briefly because I know it can kind of still be a hot red button issue, but. I mean, I don't believe Colin Kaepernick was ever blackballed by the NFL. I don't think, maybe there are some owners that aren't going to sign him because solely based on, his activism and personal things that he's been going through. But honestly, he just wasn't that good. And the headache that it would cause to bring him on and to sign him far outweighs the talent that he brings on the field. You see it day in and day out. A lot of NFL teams don't care what you do in your personal life. I mean, if you're good and you can play, and that talent, is equal to or more than the headache that you cause by signing them, NFL teams will pull the trigger on you. So we haven't seen yet how this Antonio Brown thing is going to work out, but with Colin Kaepernick, it's definitely obvious that the headache it would cause to sign him far outweighs the talents and the production that he would put out on the field. And I think if Antonio Brown's, not too careful, it's going to turn out to be that way too. I'm not sure how many other teams were going after him. I think the Redskins kind of were, maybe the Dolphins, a couple other teams that needed a receiver and it didn't really matter, if they were signed or not, but those are teams that, aren't going to make the playoffs and probably not even fight for a playoff spot. So the Patriots were definitely the best choice for him, as a player wanting to play and whatnot. And a lot of people are speculating that this, from the beginning, before he was even traded, that this was a plan that he had all along. And it was brought out that the Patriots tried to trade for him when he was still with the Steelers, but the Steelers decided not to because they didn't want to trade him to the Patriots because, I mean, that's a rival to them. I mean, that's somebody they're going to have to see in the playoffs or they're going to have to beat to get into the Super Bowl, and they didn't want to have to beat Antonio Brown to do that. So, they traded him to the Raiders, which, I mean, it was good, but now the Patriots get him anyway. Steelers don't get anything from the Patriots, so, I mean, once again, everything falls nicely for the Patriots. They push all the right buttons and everything falls their way. And now they have Antonio Brown. And after that Sunday night game where they just destroyed the Steelers 33-3 without Antonio Brown, I mean, it doesn't even look like they need them. I mean, honestly, and now that they have them, it's just icing on the cake. And like I said, they looked really good. The only thing bringing Antonio Brown is bringing him in. That could cause a rift in the locker room. But I think with Tom Brady and with Bill Belichick, if anybody can tamper him down and calm him down and kind of quiet the circus that he brings, it's those two guys because they've been doing it for so long. And honestly, it's no risk for them. I mean, if he starts acting up, they say something that Belichick didn't like, they can cut him just like that, and they're still a Super Bowl contender with or without him. I mean, like I said, once again, Patriots pushing all the right buttons and having everything fall their way, and they looked really good on Sunday night. So, and then of course after the Patriots had signed him, the one button I guess they didn't push right was they were unaware of this civil action lawsuit against him, this rape charge, that Antonio Brown has been accused of now. No police report has been filed, so I think that's kind of why you haven't seen him be put on the exemption list, the commissioner exemption list quite yet, or you haven't really seen any consequences or anything like that. So, but if a police report does come out, or things start to get a little more serious, not that they're not serious already, I mean, because he's still practicing. But if that comes to light, and they may end up having to cut him anyway. But with that whole allegation, I'm not saying he did it, because we've seen before, these girls come out and accuse somebody, and then it's just a false accusation. It happened with a Tennessee player a couple years ago with A.J. Johnson, and that happened when he was still in college, and he just got cleared of those charges like last year, I think, and he's finally with an NFL team. But he was a draft pick, I'd say third or fourth round pick. He was a good linebacker, and that whole situation really hurt him. I mean, and cost him money, and I mean, it's just, you hate to see it. And I'm not saying this is the case with Antonio Brown, because we haven't seen all the facts or the stories or anything like that. I mean, it's not looking like. I mean, I'm kind of more leaning towards the side that he didn't do it, or at the very least this was just a huge misunderstanding. Because I mean, I just think the girl who's accusing him, I mean, she probably could have picked a better time to do this, but she did it during all this, and it doesn't look good for her, whether it happened or not. It just the timing for her makes it look like this is a cash grab situation, and that may play a part into it. And I'm sure she's just getting ridiculed and all that stuff. And I mean, and if he did do it, and if this is a serious accusation, I mean, it is a serious accusation, but if it comes to light and there's evidence that he did do this, then I'm all for dropping the hammer on him, cutting him loose, totally Ray Ricing him where he never sees another down of football and everything. But from the looks of it, from the sounds of it, from what we've seen in the past, it's not looking like that. So, like I said, I know that's kind of a touchy subject, and I don't want to discourage any girl that's been going through something like this, if it's happened, to not come out because of what it may do publicly to her and everything like that. But when girls are, people do that, cause accusations just to get some money, and something like that didn't happen, or there's a misunderstanding, it makes it harder for girls that have actually gone through that to come out and want to come out because they see what happens and everything. So it's a touchy subject, rightfully so. So that's all I'm really gonna go into about it. I mean, but I will say, if this is a false accusation, maybe that's why she hasn't done a police report yet, because it's false, and you can get in trouble and fined and charged with filing a false police report. So maybe that's just why she's held off on it, because she's waiting to get some evidence. Hopefully, I'm not sure. It's just another notch in Antonio Brown's circus that he's been parading around here this last year, and it's getting a bit I'm just ridiculous. I mean, I'm tired of hearing about him. Um, I'm interested to see, where he fits in with the Patriots. I'm interested to see what their team looks like with him on there. But I'm just ready to get down to football. I'm tired of talking about all these off the field issues that he's been dealing with, that he's been doing, to get on the Patriots, regardless or anything like that. I'm just ready to get into football, and I'm glad football started. There's a lot more we can talk about other than Antonio Brown's, attention grabbing tweet or action that he's done in the last day or so. So, enough talk about that. I think that we'll put a pin into that, and we'll get back to there when more things have come to light, and we know more truth on the situation. So we will get. I'll go into now reviewing last week, week 1 of the NFL, which was it was a doozy. It was especially if you have fantasy football. I think that just makes the NFL better. If you play fantasy football, it puts meaningless games, or maybe not games that you would want to watch, like the Jets and Bills. It makes that watchable, because I had the Jets defense, who played really well up until that last half of the fourth quarter, and if you may have Josh Allen or something like that, it makes, like I said, makes Bills and Jets watchable. It makes the Buccaneers watchable. It makes the Redskins watchable. If you have somebody on that team to root for, it just makes the NFL more fun, in my opinion. I know fantasy isn't for everybody, even though it feels like everybody has at least one team. But older guys don't like to play fantasy football, I think. But I don't know. My dad plays, and he's old. He's in his 60s, so I can say that. But it was, like I said, it was a great week. A lot of good action, a lot of touchdowns. I think I saw 75 total touchdowns last week. After Thursday night snooze fest of the Bears and the Packers scoring 6-3, we were hoping that wasn't going to be the case for the rest of the NFL games, and it wasn't. A lot of high scoring games, a lot of good games. One went into overtime. We had a tie. It was a good start to the NFL season, and you hope that kind of action continues for the rest of the year. One good thing that we don't have to really talk about, because it wasn't really an issue, was officiating, or just, whether that be bad officiating. Most of the time, it's bad officiating. Nobody talks about it if it's good officiating. So, but there's no controversial calls. Refs costing people the games, so that's good. Hopefully that continues to happen, and we have a good NFL season. So we'll go with the picks. We all gave our picks last week's episode, and we had the sports and leisure group, which we've had a couple people come on and sign on, so that's good. I am happy to announce that I had the most picks correct last week. I picked 13 of the correct games. The only ones I missed were the Titans slaughtering the Browns. And I did mention, that was a good possibility. A lot of people were picking the Titans to win that game. They probably didn't see that blowout coming out, though. But I just couldn't, in my gut, click on it and pick the Titans, even though, I kind of felt that they would win. I just didn't do it, and, that's okay, I guess. I know that the other game I mispicked was the Bills and Jets game, which the Jets had the lead most of the game, and the Bills came back in that last quarter, maybe dang near half quarter, and they ended up pulling out a win, 17-16. So I missed that one, and then I didn't really miss, but the Cardinals and the Lions tied, and the Lions really just let that one go. They had the game in hand. Sorry, I had to wet my whistle. They had that game in hand, and they let a rookie quarterback just come back and storm back and tie the game and take it in overtime. And, both teams had a shot in overtime, and either one could kind of pull it out. So, that's how it rolls, I guess. That ties have been more prolific here in the NFL. There's at least one a year, it seems like, maybe sometimes two. The last 5 or 6 years, there's always been at least one tie. I know the Redskins tied the Broncos 4 years ago, back when Cousins was still the quarterback, and it kind of hurt their chances there making the playoffs. Not that it would have mattered. Cousins would have blown it in the playoffs like he's been known to do. But all the other games, I picked the Packers. I picked the Vikings, which they looked really good in that game. Really shut down the Falcons. Falcons didn't have any points until late in the fourth, I think, and Julio got a cheat touchdown. I picked the Chiefs. That was an easy one. Kind of sad though that Nick Foles got hurt. Jacksonville has just been, I think they're cursed or something. I mean, they just can never get a strike of good fortune. Something bad is always happening. They finally cut ties with Blake Bortles, and they don't even get a half of football out of Nick Foles before he goes down with a broken clavicle, which kind of sucks. But and Kansas City also suffered an injury with Tyreek Hill. He had another clavicle injury, but he will only be out for a couple, I think they said 4 to 6 weeks. But the Chiefs are good enough that they can withstand that injury, and they'll be just fine. Jaguars, not so much. They had to go out last week and trade for Josh Dobbs, who I don't know if he'll fight for the starting quarterback. Something tells me he'll start a few games towards the end of the year, which I think that'll be interesting. I'm always a Josh Dobbs fan. He went to Tennessee. He, has brought them the only good seasons that they've seen in a really long time. So I'm Josh Dobbs is always going to be close and dear to my heart for what he did in Tennessee. So I hope he plays well. I've always kind of rooted for him, even though he went to the Steelers. I want him to do good. I want him to play well. Like most people, like most of the people that come out of your favorite college, you want them to play well in the NFL, and Josh Dobbs is one of them for me. So picked the Rams to beat the Panthers. That was kind of a no-brainer, even though the Panthers really came and made it close there at the end, the Rams only won by 3 points. The Ravens and Dolphins, that was another kind of no-brainer, but nobody saw the Ravens winning 59-10 and Lamar Jackson just going off. I mean, and it's tough to say if this is what he's going to look like the rest of the year. I mean, he can't look like this the rest of the year. I mean, because he's not going to play the Dolphins every game. But he had, 5 touchdowns, he threw a lot of nice balls. So I'm not ready to quite jump on the Lamar Jackson future quarterback train just yet. Let's see how he plays against an actual NFL team and what he can do there. But definitely, I'm on board. I saw some significant changes and some significant improvements on him, especially with his decision making and his throwing. And that Ravens team looked downright good. Even for playing the Dolphins, put up 59 points is tough on anybody. So, and picked the Eagles to beat the Redskins, no brainer. Even though the Redskins were up 20-3, I think at halftime. And then, just like Tennessee, they pissed down their leg, and the Eagles came back and won with a vengeance, and came back with a vengeance, and the game wasn't as close as the final score said it was. The Skins got a late touchdown to make it seem close, but it really wasn't. Seattle beating the Bengals. I picked Seattle. That 1 point win, though, I don't know if that means that the Seahawks aren't as good as we think they are, or the Bengals aren't as bad as we think they are. Andy Dalton, though, I think he leads the league in passing yards right now, which nobody saw coming, especially against that Seahawks defense, which I know they're not what they have been with the Legion of Boom, but they're still a good defense. But Andy Dalton, had a good game. So, the Bengals, may surprise a couple teams and get a few more wins than people thought they would. So, we'll see with that. The Chargers and the Colts, they went into overtime. Chargers won. I picked the Chargers to win. I had Austin Eckler on my fantasy team, and he scored 34 points. Really helped me seal a victory, a couple victories in a couple leagues, and I was very happy with that. Chargers looked to be just fine without Melvin Gordon. He came out, and his agent said that he should be reporting between weeks 6 and 9 or something like that, or some weird time frame when he should be reporting back to the Chargers, just to kind of save himself, make him less susceptible to injuries, which is, it's a smart move on him. He's going to test free agency market next year, and you don't want to be coming off an injury trying to sign with a new team. So picked the Cowboys to beat the Giants. That's no brainer. 35-17. I mean, that's kind of what everybody thought. That the Cowboys did look real good. They looked really good, and the Giants looked downright awful. I mean, that is just kind of what we all thought that was going to happen. Ooh. And like I mentioned, Lions and Cardinals going in for the tie. I did pick the Lions to win that game, but it doesn't matter. So, 49ers and Buccaneers picked the 49ers to win. It was kind of sluggish for both teams. If it wasn't for Winston throwing like 3 picks, 49ers, it would have been a lot closer, but 31-17 was the final score to that. Pittsburgh and New England. I thought the Steelers had a chance to win this game. I thought this was going to be, especially after the news with Antonio Brown, that this could be one of the only tough games for the Patriots. I thought the Steelers could definitely pull out a win, but Tom Brady said no, and from start to finish, they just dominated that game, and it wasn't close. It wasn't close at all. The Patriots looked really good. They looked like another Super Bowl contending team, and and they're going to add Antonio Brown, like I've been mentioning. So, I mean, all intents and purposes, it looks like the Patriots are back for another Super Bowl, even though I haven't taken back what I said a couple episodes. I mentioned that I don't think the Patriots will make the Super Bowl this year, just based on odds alone and stats. They got to slow down eventually. But after that win, it's not looking likely. But I'm still going to stand by my statement there for now. I may have to go back on it later on. Saints and Texans. I picked the Saints, but that was by far probably the game of the week. That first Monday night game, it was up and down. It was a high-scoring game. Great for fantasy. Had me sweating bullets. I was going against Deshaun Watson, and he dropped like 30 points. But he looked good. The Texans look good, except for maybe that defense. But the Saints are such a great offense. Keeping them to 30 points is pretty good. And the Texans had the lead there with 30 seconds left, and Drew Brees marching down in field goal territory, and Will Lutz just hammered home a 58-yarder to win the game. It was a great game. I mean, you mark that as Super Bowl, I'm going to be happy. So, and then the Raiders and the Broncos, I picked the Raiders to win. When I made that pick, it was before Antonio Brown left, and I never went and changed it. I didn't really think about it, and I'm glad I didn't, because the Raiders won 24-16, and they jumped out hot. The Broncos kind of came out sluggish and came back and made it a close game, but the Raiders held up and ended up winning. So, like I said, I missed 2.5 games. I lead the group right now. Steven didn't do too well, and neither did Greg. Where did they go? I had 13 correct picks. Steven had 9, and Greg had 7. So, not really good weeks for them, which is great for me. Makes me look like the smart one here in the group, but it's just week 1. We have so much more to go. So, and with that being said, we will move on, and I'll go into my week 2 picks. Like I mentioned, I'm watching the Bucks and Panthers play right now. Panthers are at home. Right now it's 6-3. But I'm just going to pick the Panthers regardless. I think teams playing at home on Thursday night win like 60% of the time. Coming off that short week, it's tough to prepare and go out on the road and go back and win a game, especially when you're the worst team, the Buccaneers that is, than the Panthers talent-wise. It's tough to overcome that in such a short period of time and come out and expect to win. But, it's just 6-3 here. Second quarter's winding down. They did have a 30-minute rain delay that they had to withdraw. So, that may actually help out the Buccaneers, I would think. I don't really know who or how rain delay situations work out. I know it's tough because, you got to go back in the locker room after you're all warmed up, especially because this was early in the first quarter. I think both teams only had 1 possession, or maybe the Panthers had 2, but it was early in the first quarter when they had to go down. So, to get up and to get energized and get ready to go to play. Ooh, and the Buccaneers just scored a touchdown. Winston threw it to, is that Godwin? It looks like it. So Buccaneers about to go up 10-6. But getting up, getting ready to play a game, getting hyped up to play a game, and you're out there for one series, and then you got to stop and go back in the locker room and wait again, and then have to come back out and get ready again. That's tough. That's tough. You got to stay warm, and it's still raining, I think. So that's just. But both teams, came out of the rain delay, and they both went down the field and got a field goal kicked. So I guess it didn't affect them too much. So, like I said, Panthers, for me, that's what I picked before, and that's what I'm sticking with, even though it's 10-6 right now. So, next game, the Bills at the Giants. I'm going to go with the Bills. The Giants are just, they're going to be a team fighting for the first pick, I think. They're just, after getting slaughtered by the Cowboys, which I think, they are a playoff worthy team. The Cowboys are. The Giants just looked helpless. So, I'll go with the Bills, even though it's in New York. It's not like that's far of a drive for the Bills. Next game, 49ers at the Bengals. That's tough, especially for a West Coast team to have to come. I guess Cincinnati somewhat east, but for them to have to travel and then play the early 1 o'clock or 12 Central game, yeah, it doesn't bode well a lot of the times for those teams. But I think I'm going to go with the Bengals. I'm going to go with the Bengals to win that game. I think they got a lot of momentum. Cutting it close with the Seahawks. I'm not sold on the 49ers quite yet. I'm not sold on Garoppolo or that offense. Because, it's just we've just been tricked too much by them, thinking that they're going to be a good team, and something happens and that. So I'm going to go Bengals at home. I think they're going to pull an upset there. So next game, the Cowboys at the Redskins. I don't have to think about it. Nobody has to think about it. The Cowboys, especially after what they did last week, and especially what the Redskins did last week, even though they look good at times, that they still gave up a fairly large lead, and they lost the game. So even though they will be at home, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Cowboys. And most of America is picking them. So next game is the Chargers at the Lions. I'm gonna have to go with the Chargers. They look pretty good. And the Lions didn't look that good. Like I said, like the Redskins gave up a lead. But at least the Redskins gave up a lead to a good Eagles team, whereas the Lions kind of gave up to a mediocre or less than mediocre Cardinals team. Next game, it's going to be a tough one to pick. The Vikings at the Packers. Packers defense looked for real, even though it was against Trubisky. They had a really bad game. The Bears did, and they won 10-6. But the Vikings looked just great. They look good. They look like they did a couple years ago when they had Keenum, and they had 3 different quarterbacks, and they got to the NFC Championship game. So I'm going to pick that, even though the Packers, they haven't. I think they got swept by the Vikings last year. Maybe even the year before then, they only split. The Vikings have had the Packers number recently, and I think that's going to continue, even though the Packers are at home. Colts at the Titans. The Colts looked manageable last week with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. First game without injury luck, but first game since he retired. And like I said, Jacoby Brissett looked good. They put points on the board. They took the Chargers to overtime, and they lost, but they looked serviceable. I think they're going to be better. They're going to be just a tier above those last place teams like the Giants and like the Dolphins and possibly the Redskins are in that tier, but I think they're just going to be just above them. They're going to win a couple games, probably go 5-11, 6-10. Maybe even get 7-9. I think that's their ceiling is 7 wins. But I'm going to go with the Titans. They're at home. They're riding high. They just kicked the crap out of the Super Bowl. Predicting the Browns would go to the Super Bowl, and they just defeated them in every aspect of the game: offense, defense, special teams. The Browns did shoot themselves in the foot a lot of the times with all those penalties and Baker turning the ball over, but a lot of that is the Titans are a good team. I think they can make the playoffs, so I think they go on and win that game. Even though the Colts have had the Titans number, mostly that's just Andrew Luck, I believe. So I think that they're gonna win that game. Next game, the Patriots at the Dolphins. That's no brainer. Patriots. I mean, I don't have to think about that. Even though the Dolphins can beat the Patriots, they have in the past. The Patriots. I don't know if they're just looking ahead, or whatnot. But the Patriots, have been known to upset the Patriots. The Dolphins have been known to upset the Patriots, especially when they're at home. But this is just too much for them to overcome, and I think the Patriots win big. Cardinals at the Ravens. I'm going to go ahead and give that one to the Ravens. Like the Titans, I think they're riding high after their big win last week. They're going to have a little more competition playing the Cardinals than they did with the Dolphins, but I think they're still going to pull it off. And I don't know if they're not going to score 59, or they probably won't even score 40 with that offense. But they're still going to pull it out. I think they're going to win. They have a really good defense. Murray is still, he's still new fish. He's still got a large learning curve to go through. And I think we're going to see some more growing pains in this next game against the Ravens. Next game, the Seahawks at the Steelers. This is another good. There's a lot of good matchups here, and this is another one. I'm going to go with the Steelers at home. The West Coast team got to travel all the way to the East Coast. 1:00 game. Steelers are going to be hungry. They're going to want to win. They're going to have a lot of corrections to make. They're going to watch that film of the Patriots game. I think they're going to make those corrections. And they're going to try and get the ball to Juju a little more. He's their playmaker now, and they need to realize that. And I think they just kind of let the team go last week, and they kind of forgot about it. So, sorry about that. Just had somebody come inside, so I had to stop there for just a second. But we're back. Like I mentioned, picking the Steelers beat the Seahawks with them just barely beating the Bengals. Even though in the first game of the year, but they were at home, and you think they got to do better than that against the Bengals, and playing the Steelers, who are hungry and looking to come off that bad win. I'm gonna go on and pick the Steelers to win that game. Next game is the Texans hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like I said, Jacksonville without Nick Foles. They got I don't know what that dude's name, Minshew or something like that, I think. But Dobbs still may go for the starting quarterback position here later on. I think it's too soon for him to fight for that position. He's got to learn the playbook and kind of do all that. But we'll see how Minshew. He came in last week and played pretty well. I think he was like 23 or 26 for a couple hundred yards and a touchdown, and it threw a pick. And kind of, I mean, they weren't going to win that game against the Chiefs. So, so he didn't really have much to play for. But anytime you come into a game like that when somebody's been hurt and you're playing a good team, it's tough to put up those kind of numbers. And I was pretty impressed with what he did there. So we'll see what he does with a week of preparation as the starting quarterback. He'll have to play against a better defense, I think, in the Texans, who like the Steelers are going to come off of a tough loss, game that they feel like they should have won. So they're going to be hungry, and they're going to be home for the first time. And Deshaun Watson looked really good, so I think he's going to continue to do that. I think the Texans are going to win that game pretty handily. Chiefs at the Raiders. That's kind of a no-brainer. The Chiefs picked up right where they left off last year, just scoring a boatload of points. Patrick Mahomes just doing what he's been doing, throwing the ball over the field, scoring over 30 points in fantasy. Just, like I said, picking up right with the same thing with the Patriots, just picked up right where they left off. Not really worried about the Tyreek Hill injury. Like I said, they got a bunch of guys that they can. Sammy Watkins, absolutely redonkulous last week. What do you have, over 200 yards or pretty dang near close to over 200 yards. A nice reception. So, I mean, hopefully they continue to give him the ball. And I don't see why not, especially with Hill out. But they got Mecole Hardman, that rookie. He's he fast, just like Tyreek Hill, so they could throw him on some wheel routes and just throw it over the top and continue to do what they've been doing, which is run up and down the field scoring points. Even though the Raiders did win, I mean that's just too much for them to ask. Too much to ask for them to beat the Chiefs. So next game, the Bears at the Broncos. That's another tough one. like I said, even the Broncos came off to a sluggish start last week against the Raiders. Same thing with the Bears. A very sluggish start. At least the Broncos kind of corrected it there at halftime and put up some points on the board. The Bears are still looking for their first touchdown of the year. I mean, they just scored 3 points against the Packers. Broncos defense is going to be better, I think, than the Packers defense. They're going to be at home, so I'm going to go with the Broncos. I think Flacco looked real good. A lot of drop passes by Emmanuel Sanders are just weird step outs. He fell down a couple times where it could have been a touchdown. A lot of weird plays. I see Emmanuel Sanders coming back, kind of have a chip on his shoulder, wanting to play better. And Flacco looked good. He was better than any of the quarterbacks the Broncos have had, since Peyton left. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Broncos to win that at home. Next game, another great matchup. The Saints at the Rams, a rematch of the NFC Championship game. I'm going to pick the Saints, even though they're on the road, but it's a late game. They're definitely going to be looking for blood after what happened last year in the championship game with that missed call. I don't want to say they're going to blow out the Rams because the Rams are really good. They got a really good team. They're fully capable of beating anybody on any given day. But I think the Saints are just going to be too much. They're going to be playing for a little more than the Rams are. And the Rams, they looked sluggish last week too, whether that because they didn't play in the preseason or whatnot. But, I mean, they should have been able to beat the Panthers by more than 3 points with a hobbled Cam Newton. And, I mean, the Panthers are a mediocre team or slightly above mediocre at best, depending on Cam's health. I expected a little more out of them last week, and I didn't see it, so I don't expect them to win this game against the Saints. Next game, Sunday night, Eagles at the Falcons. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Eagles. I'm going to blame just sluggish start. I'm not going to say anything good about the Redskins and how they jumped out to that lead. I think it was purely just because the Eagles didn't come to play or they just weren't ready to play. But they came out at halftime swinging, and they looked like the team most people thought they were going to be, and most people picked to go to the Super Bowl or, at least go deep in the playoffs. And the Falcons are just the opposite. They looked bad from start to beginning. They did get a cheap touchdown, like I mentioned. So, I mean, they didn't look that good. And Julio's health, I think, is kind of in question. They're not sure if he's 100%. Matt Bryan just didn't look good. And nothing looked good with the Falcons. So, I'm picking the Eagles to beat the Falcons there at home. I mean, in Atlanta. And it brings us to the last game, Monday night game, the Browns at the Jets. It was reported today that the Jets are going to be without quarterback Sam Darnold. He has mono, which I'm more curious in how he got it, rather than why he has it. I mean, who's he kissing? That's what I want to know. That they gave him mono. So, and they're saying he could just be out. He could be out more than just this week. That's a very contagious disease. They don't want him bringing that into the locker room and getting more guys sick and missing time. So, he may be out, I'd say, at least 2 weeks, maybe longer. Mono is a kind of a tricky thing. You don't know when that's going to be over, and you definitely don't want to bring somebody back in before they're fully cleared of it. So, I'm going to pick the Browns. Like I said, they got a lot of soul searching to do after just getting slaughtered by the Texans. I think they're going to go back and watch the tape, and let's just face it, the Jets aren't nearly as good of a team as the Titans. Titans are a better overall team, offensively, defensively, and coaching wise. So they'll have an easier test. And if the Browns can't win this, if they somehow lose to a backup quarterback and this Jets team, who might even be without Le'Veon Bell, he had an MRI with a sore shoulder, so which came back negative. So it's still kind of up in the air if he'll play or not. But if they lose that game, they start 0-2, which, some people did predict that they're going to start off to it. But, you can't beat this Jets team. That's going to be, I don't want to say the end of the season for them, but you got to win this game. If you have any aspirations to make the playoffs, you have any aspirations to go deep in the playoffs, you have to beat bad teams. And right now, without Sam Darnold and the Jets are a bad team. I mean, they do have good defense, even though they were just playing the Bills, and they look even better playing the Bills. It's going to be about the same as the Titans, I think. So they're going to have to cut down the penalties, and which I think they'll do. You see a lot of penalties in week 1. I think they'll cut down the penalties. I think Baker and will just play overall better. So I do think they'll win, but if they lose, boy, there's going to be a lot of chickens coming home to roost, and I don't want to say I want them to lose. I'm kind of rooting for the Browns, but it would be nice to rub it in Steven and Greg's face, who think that they're going to make the playoffs, that they can't even beat the Jets. So that is it for my week 2 predictions. Just going down quickly one more time. I got the Panthers, the Bills, I got the Bengals, the Cowboys, Chargers, Vikings, Titans, Patriots, Ravens, Steelers, Texans, Chiefs, Broncos, Saints, Eagles, and Browns all winning. Which, I mean, it's hard to go 100% in the NFL because a lot of crazy things can happen. But I'm not fully expecting to do that this week. But I think having another good week is definitely in my wheelhouse now. So that's gonna be all there for the NFL, I think. So with that, we're gonna get into leisure topic part of the program here. I will admit it's gonna be a lot harder, just me by myself, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway for the fans. So gotta have something. And you know what? Maybe we may have a special guest here to come in there. So I'm not even sure how I was thinking about it. I think I was talking with somebody. We're talking about dinner or something like that, and they mentioned that what they were eating was so good that it would be their last meal if they're ever in prison. So that got me thinking, if I was on death row or if I was just really old and I knew the time was coming and it was my last meal, what would I have for my last meal? And took a little time to think, but I'm pretty happy with what I got, and it's gonna be a porterhouse steak, medium rare. Leave the bone in, obviously. So yeah, porterhouse steak, medium rare, maybe with a nice sauce or herbs and garlic butters. One of those things. You gotta have one of those to really put a steak over the top. Then I'm gonna have a baked potato with butter and sour cream and a couple French fries as well. Some nice crispy French fries. It's my last meal, so I mean I don't have to worry about any carbs. And then we're gonna throw on some Texas toast with that as well. I love me some, like I said, I love me some carbs. Obviously, ooh, dang, is that Greg Olsen?
Yep, that's Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen just had a huge 25, 30-yard catch there. So it looks like he's back in it. He had a tough year last year, and he's looking back to his old self. Nice throw by there, Cam. Nice throw. But yes, I'd love me some carbs, either that being potatoes or bread. I like to have, I need to have both of those in almost all of my meals. Whether that just be a slice of white bread with something I'm eating, or, some form of potato, baked, mashed, fried, whatever. I love me some potatoes and bread. So, yes, steak, so a baked potato, some nice crispy French fries, a piece of Texas toast, and then start things off with a nice salad as well. Just because you gotta have a salad when you eat a steak dinner. You gotta start things off with a salad. Don't even give me that look, Steven. You gotta start. I'm not saying it has to be a huge salad, Just a little nice, with some ranch,
You know what?
some croutons,
Salad.
some croutons. Just, what else I'm not gonna sit there and twiddle my thumbs waiting for my steak to get ready. I want something to eat.
My boy.
Okay, it's just like the chips at a Mexican restaurant, the chips and salsa. Okay, you only eat those because they're right there in your face and you're waiting for your food to get there.
But you have a choice. You can get a soup. Chowder soup.
No, I only like two soups, and that's chili and chicken noodle soup.
Wait a minute. Chili soup?
I'm not calling. Nobody called it chili soup.
Well, you just did.
No, it's a soup. I don't call it chili soup.
Soup chili?
No, I just say chili.
So it's just chili then?
Yes,
The
but
chili
I'm not
soup?
gonna eat chili before. Shut up, Steven.
Carry on.
I'm not gonna eat chili. I want, and plus you need a nice little something cold. Start thinking. Like I said, a salad is like chips and dip at a restaurant. You eat that before your food gets there because it's there, and you want something to snack on until your food gets there. Once your food gets there, you push the chips and salsa away. You push the salad away, and you get down to brass tacks there, and you get down to the entree. So. I'm kind of torn on dessert. I'm not really a huge dessert guy, unless it's a cosmic brownie. But it's my last day, so it might as well give me a nice big old piece of chocolate cake. I'm not talking like Matilda chocolate cake because that scene always grosses me out. But and just a nice something to tie me over after I've had my fill of beef and potatoes. So that is my last meal. I'm not going to get into what crime I committed to put me on death row. But yeah, that's my last meal. So, we're going to go with Steven now, my nephew, just because he showed up. I'm going to put him here on the spot, what his, last meal would be. So go right ahead here, Steven.
It's nice to be on here. All right, my last meal. My last meal would be my grandmother's tamales. When I turned 12 on my birthday, I ate 20 of them. So, I gotta go.
On your birthday? That's nice.
Did you not? It's cool, Ty. You went 11 to 13 real quick. All right. Then.
You turn 12 only on your birthday.
Do you?
Yes.
Do you, though?
Yes.
What if you were born on a leap year?
Well,
like the day of. Or.
Tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
Tough for them.
Okay, carry on. All right.
With your tamale talk.
Then, okay, of course, tamales, the chicken kind, a little bit spicy. I don't know if I wanted deep fried or not. I'm not really a deep fried person, really. It's really a southern thing, to be honest. Yeah, they got my family into it now.
Frying makes everything better, though.
You think so?
Yeah.
You need fried Kool-Aid?
You know what I mean?
No, I'm not kidding. You can deep fry Kool-Aid.
I'm not going to do that, though. That's absurd.
Have you tried it?
No.
How
do you have deep fried Kool-Aid?
Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried about it.
But you could be thinking about it. Anyways, next, for my side, I would have mac and cheese. I know tamales and mac and cheese don't go together, but Outback mac and cheese. You ever had that, Ty?
Yeah, I have. It's really delicious.
Oh, it's very delicious.
Any mac and cheese, really.
But what?
Not any.
Oh, any.
Most
Okay.
mac and cheese.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I don't know if I want bacon bits on it though, like the real legit bacon, not like the
not those
fake.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like rubber.
Get that out of here.
No, it's like bacon for dogs. That's what it is. Don't ask.
Bacon strips. Bacon.
Bacon. What do you always say, Ty? Bacon's
Bacon makes everything better.
everything better, even Kool-Aid.
Yes. Use it to swirl it around.
Whoa, Ty, you're getting ahead of yourself. Next, that's probably be it for my last meal, really.
Tamales
It's
and
really
mac and cheese.
probably, you know what? Steak. Can't go wrong with steak. Nah, what is it? Medium well?
No, you're a monster.
You always call me that.
Yes.
Remember that time you told me to warm up the steak?
Yes, I did.
And what I put it like over a minute, so like 2 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yes, I was on my way home, and he asked me if he could eat this leftover steak, and I said, yeah, sure, go ahead, you can warm it up or something like that. So I was on my way home. I was like 5-10 minutes away, and he said, okay, I'm gonna put it in the microwave. So he puts it in there, and by the time I get home, it is still in the microwave, and like there's still like 2 minutes left on the microwave, and I get out, and it's a leather boot, and I ridiculed him endlessly for that. So
Then I put A1 sauce. He was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Well, you need, if you're gonna have a boot, yeah, you need A1 sauce.
Yeah, but I always put A1 sauce on it, no matter what.
If you eat a medium rare steak, you don't need A1.
Like, I went to Texas Day Brazil. I don't know if you went with us, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. I wish I had A1 sauce. Like, go in there. But you're not allowed.
They would have asked you to leave if you would have asked for A1 sauce.
They probably would have made me work in the kitchen or something. They'd be like, what are you doing? You know what?
How'd you get out of the kitchen? Get back in there.
Here's your apron. Why do you have an extra apron? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
For people like you and your A1 sauce.
Okay. So tamales, you just want a little bit of everything then. Tamales, side of mac and cheese, a couple bites of steak.
Yeah. A1 sauce with it. Don't forget that.
I won't.
Okay. Would you rather have A1 sauce or Country Bob's?
I guess A1. I don't really use anyone for steak because I cook it right.
You know what's weird?
I make my own sauce.
Do you?
Yeah.
Too much sauce. That's what
Huh?
it is. No, it's a song.
No, I make my own sauce with some Worcestershire sauce, some red wine vinegar, put some Dijon mustard, some garlic in it, whisk it up, put it to a nice boil, pour that in the steak. That's how you do that.
No, that sauce that you brought one time from your family's, is that it?
Yes.
It was like a little spicy, but it was great. Oh,
Yeah, that was when I made it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I had to clap for that. That 10 out of 10 in my eyes.
Like I said, that sauce or a nice herbs and garlic butter, either one of those really put a steak over the top. And if you have if you eat it medium well or medium is as done as I'm gonna go, you need both of those if you're gonna eat that because it's a leather boot and you need all the accessories and help that you can get to chew it and swallow it down whole. So, okay. So, anything else? Dessert you want to add?
Dessert. Let me see. Big Texas? You never heard Big Texas?
No.
This little cinnamon
Cinnamon rolls?
Yeah. You ever heating them up?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the cinnamon rolls, you got to eat them heated up.
Yeah, but they don't come heated up, though.
The best cinnamon rolls, I mean, I don't know if they're the best, but I mean, besides, genuine homemade ones are the Pillsbury Doughboy ones. That you get out of the tube. The orange ones, delicious.
Wait. You said orange?
Yes.
Is it like a Halloween thing?
No, they're just orange, like, it's like an orange frosting.
What? Is it like an orange flavor as well, or just the frosted color?
Slightly orange. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's like,
what kind of flavor? Is it like the cream flavor? Come on.
Oh, you mean like creamsicle or whatever like that?
I don't know.
It's more closely to that than an actual orange.
Is it like an Oreo birthday cake?
Daytona NASCAR Oreos. No, I'm pretty sure I made them here, and I think you've eaten them before.
I eat anything, you know that.
Yeah, you do, which is good.
Just nothing with mayonnaise.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. No mayonnaise for me. So
I did go on a date once, and this girl told me that she ate her steak with ketchup. I almost walked out.
Did she order it medium well?
No, she didn't order it that day, but she said that she does eat it with steak.
Well, I mean, like I said, if you're gonna eat it medium well, then yeah, I mean, I'm okay with you throwing whatever it is you want on there to get it down.
Yeah, but ketchup, come on, that's some weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Did you do that time?
I've done it before, yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's an Iowa thing, I guess.
No, it's just it came back way too done, and it was kind of like your situation where it was a leftover, and by the time I put it in the microwave, it had been overcooked. So yeah, I didn't have A1, and I put ketchup on it, and you know what? It wasn't terrible. It wasn't that bad.
I guess I just gotta try it. I can't judge without trying it, right?
I mean, yeah, you can't. I do still sometimes, but you're a better person than me if you don't.
So who's the monster now?
I haven't done it recently because I eat my steaks correctly. So, but we're not gonna get off into that tangent anymore. So, so you're eating tamales, mac and cheese, like half a steak. What kind of you like ribeyes? So you don't really know which ones to choose from. Yeah, and cinnamon rolls to top it off. So that's a pretty good. I mean, I can't knock that, even though I don't really like tamales that much. But mac and cheese, I should have put mac and cheese on mine. I'm gonna switch that. I want a scoop of mac and cheese on mine.
What kind of mac and cheese? Like from where? Is there a certain place?
I make it myself.
Nice. I like that.
I like a creamy mac and cheese. I don't like a dry mac and cheese. If it's dry, I'm not gonna eat it. So I like a nice creamy mac and cheese. Like you said, with or without bacon or breadcrumbs. If it's gonna have breadcrumbs, it needs to be cheesy, and those breadcrumbs need to be like kind of burnt on the top to really make it a nice one.
You know what I think is really weird? When they make mac and cheese and he like put shredded cheese on it to melt, but I don't know. I just think that's weird. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of overdoing it. I'm not I mean I like cheese. Obviously, I like mac and cheese, but I'm not like one of those people that eat like just cheese, like string cheese. I don't eat just string cheese, or
You don't?
are people that grab a slice of American cheese and just eat that by themselves. I don't do that.
In my old workplace, they used to keep cheese in the drawer. Warm cheese. Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, trip. I was like, what? I'm like, y'all are weird. So we had a debate. Like, everybody in the clinic, we were like, how do you eat your cheese? Cold or warm? And
I eat my cheese on a burger or in my mac and cheese or in my Rotel. I mean, there's really no other way to eat it.
oh, I eat it plain as it is.
No, I don't eat it by itself.
Well, I don't do that anymore. I used to when I was a kid.
I mean, everybody used to do it when they were a kid. I mean, I guess I kind of did that when I was a kid, eat by itself. Oh, Greg Olson again.
I should have started him. Crap.
No, is that Greg Olson? Oh, yeah, I didn't want to be racist. I mean, there's not many white tight ends left anymore since Gronk left, but he's looking good. I mean, yeah, that's the Buccaneers, but just streaming right down the middle, not touched, nothing.
Look at that. He's number one target.
He's got to have like 50, 60 yards by now. But okay, well, thank you, Steve. Oh, he's got 104. Oh, dang, he's got 5 catches, 104 yards. Yeah, Greg Olson's back. Hopefully, he doesn't get hurt in the next play.
Who's Scott's topped?
My brother.
Is it Steven?
Yeah, Battle of the Stevens this week. This is my nephew Steven with a V. So that didn't sound right.
There's Stefan.
Yes. Yeah. So that's gonna be it. Please send us what your last meal would be. You can send us an email at sportsandleisuropodcast@gmail.com. You can put it on our Facebook wall, post it there. Like our Facebook page, follow us on Facebook too. Follow our Twitter page. You can tweet at us too there what your favorite last meal would be. There's a number of ways you can connect to us and contact us with that. So please do. We'll read it. Oh, Cam just got sacked. We'll read it on next week's episode. And I'll ask Steven and Greg there too as well. It's not too late to join the Sports and Leisure Pigskin Pick'em group. Pick NFL games. You can battle against the three of us. Weekly winners will get a shout out on the podcast, and the yearly winner will be a guest on an episode if they want. But I was the weekly winner, so I can't really give myself a shout out. So, and I'm winning right now. Since I won week 1, obviously I'm winning for the year. So, well, that's gonna be it, I think, for this episode. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. Like I said, if you have any comments, please comment. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and the podcast app, or however you listen to us. Rate us. That's how we get podcasts out there in the open. Get some more listeners. More listeners allows us more freedoms to do more fun stuff that we're trying to do. So, like I said, I will put a link in for the Pigskin Pick'em. I'll put a link there at the bottom of the podcast episode. So, I'm glad you guys all tuned in to listen. I know it was just me, myself, and I this weekend. I hope it was still a good episode. I hope you still enjoying it. Hope you will tune in next week to the big episode 20. Ooh, boinked a kick, and it still went in. Look at that. I lost my train of thought. Yes, episode 20 will be next week. Hopefully, we're back to the original 3 of Greg, Steven, and I. Because got to be here for the monumental episodes, and 20 is obviously one. So we'll get in there and we'll talk about week 2 of the NFL, move on to week 3, and I'm sure we'll have more Antonio Brown news to get into next week. So please join us next week again for episode 20. Like I said, thanks again for tuning in, listening every week. I appreciate all our listeners. I hope you guys have a good week this week. and enjoy football and enjoy your fantasy teams. Good luck to all those. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye. Sports and leisure Heflings and leisure sports and leisure Heflings and leisure sports and leisure with Heflings and leisure sports and leisure Heflings and leisure sports and leisure Heflings and leisure. This is sports and leisure with Heflings and leisure.